Etapu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, haru nefer. This is Kasank Ma Keparu with a video for you. In this video, I want to talk about how your memories create your reality. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button at the bottom there. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. Also, please share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started and free the planet. And if you're not already, become a Patreon supporter. You can do so for as little as $1 or $20 per month. You get exclusive access to instructional videos on hypnosis, on invoking spirits, putting together an amulet, how to breathe properly, proper breathing techniques. So as a Patreon supporter, all of those instructional videos are available to you. Lastly, we have free ebooks. You can click the links below and you'll have access to downloading the free ebooks, which go more in depth to the spiritual teachings here. So let's talk about this subject, which is a very important subject matter, about how your reality or your memories can create your reality. And I want you guys to start thinking about this. There's a lot of guys on YouTube, on social media, that are professing that they can help you, and they're trying to teach you how to get over your issues or deal with problems that are going on in your life. Now, I'm not talking about the ones out there trying to scam you. I'm talking about the ones who are very sincere. And a lot of them are sincere, but they just don't know what they're doing. And the difference is that I went to school for this. I've studied this all my life. I have gone to 15 years of priesthood. That doesn't include studying with other masters and gurus. I've studied NLP. I've studied hypnosis. All right. So this is something I'm well acquainted with. And the reason why I bring this up is because I have been lucky to study with some of the best, or the best of the best. And when you are able to gain access to those type of individuals, you really have a bigger picture or understanding of what the problem really is. And many teachers out there, or so-called gurus or self-appointed priests, don't understand what the problem is. So consequently, what they do is they teach you how to overcome your problems from a very temporary way, from a very ineffective way. And what I've noticed, you know, they'll come on their YouTube channels and they talk about, well, you know what, you can have a consultation with me and such. And I'm here to tell you this. And I have to keep this real because a lot of you, my magis, aren't doing the right things. When I speak to people and I work with people, it is work. It is not me talking you to a point of a realization of your problem. I'm not looking for you to have an epiphany. I'm not looking for you to have a light bulb moment. I'm giving you and prescribing to you real things to deal with real problems. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not going to sit here and have a conversation about what went on in your childhood or what's going on with your mate, and I'm going to give you some verbal advice. I have told many, time and time again, that the problem with the Western world is that we think that verbal discourse can solve problems. When you speak to a person who has a severe trauma or has suffered from a trauma, you are speaking to the waking state, the left brain state, which does not control behavior. It is the right brain, subconscious mind, that dictates all of your actions. It is also the gateway to other dimensional realms, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So these individuals who want a consultation, who walk through your problems, who want to talk you through your problems, are doing nothing. And I don't care how clever they sound, how deep they sound. It's only just putting a Band-Aid on the issue. The same way where I've told most of you that I'm looking to go in a direction by teaching wealth building skills. You're not going to learn how to financially prosper by going to a motivational seminar and hearing a bunch of millionaires tell you how they made money. What worked for one is not going to work for all. You have to understand that there's a metaphysical component to how they acquired their wealth. You can't just walk in their footsteps and think you can duplicate what they did. It doesn't work that way. Let me let you guys in on a little secret. For a large part of my life, I knew Spike Lee. I worked with Spike Lee. Does that mean that I became a famous filmmaker because I followed in his footsteps? I did everything he said to do, and I had that contact. Did he end up hooking me up? No. Did all the hard work, and I put in a lot of hard work, come to fruition to where I am just as a big name filmmaker as him? No. So what I'm telling you is that there's other factors involved that you have to be aware of. When you are talking about issues that people have, that's very serious. And you have to approach it from a very serious perspective. And not everybody's qualified to deal with those issues. But I see too many people on the internet trying to set up consultations and trying to talk people through their problems. It doesn't work like that. When an individual comes to me and I do a consultation, I have to decide if hypnosis is going to be the best thing, if this person needs herbal supplements, if this person needs meditations or mantras to purge the energy from their body. Do they need to get involved in Qigong? Do they need a type of NLP reprogramming? I've got to look at all of those factors and decide which one is best to apply in this situation. Some individuals, it's very dangerous to take them into a trance state, to put them through hypnosis. I had another colleague, and she is a certified hypnotherapist, right? And she said, why don't you fly in and I can do a session with you. I said, I would love to be put under, but I'm going to tell you now, the spirits within me would not like that, and they'll come out and they'll lash out. Just like ayahuasca and DMT are really great medicines, but I'm telling you, you got to be careful of who's taking them and who you're administering those to, because they may have serious psychological issues to where it could destroy them. Some individuals I'll just talk to and give them a story, and that story is layered with analogies, and that will appeal to their right brain, and it'll get them to think in a different way. So what I'm saying to you is, when you hear these individuals online talking about set up a consultation with me, what I'm trying to tell you is they don't know what they're talking about. And if you're paying them, you're wasting your money. Yes, it's great to go to a business seminar. I'm never going to say don't do that. But when the business seminar is going to cost you $5,000, $10,000, and all you're going to do is get pumped and hyped, and then in the next week, you're going to go back to your default programming, there was a waste of money and waste of time. I'm at a point now where I'm old enough to where I don't need motivation. I don't need somebody to tell me their rags to riches story. I've heard enough of that garbage. I need a real world solution based on my specific circumstances. This is why I practice the oracles. This is why I follow the I-ching. The I-ching prescribes advice specific to your situation. It's not a one size fits all. And you have to be aware of that. When I prescribe a ritual to someone, I'm not going to prescribe the same ritual to everyone. Some need to do a Harukahuti ritual. Others need to do a Sekert ritual. Others need to do a Pata ritual. Others need to do an Aset ritual. But if you're going to play that game where you're going to call somebody on the phone and they're going to give you a consultation for a half hour or an hour, and then you're going to think you're going to walk away with your problem resolved, you're freaking kidding yourself, man. You're freaking kidding yourself. And let me tell you something. There's those individuals who are online and they're talking about how to solve the problem of racism, how to solve the problems of this world. Those in the conspiracy theory arena are misled. They're sincere, but they're misled because they believe the fallacy that if you cut the head off the Hydra, you'll win. You'll win the war. Well, I'm telling you that the solution to this country's problem is not voting. It is not politics. It is not shuffling around heads of state. The system needs to come down. I have been reincarnated, not to repair, but to destroy, to break the system down. I'm an indigo child. I am a starseed. My mission is to bring it all down as a warrior. I'm not here to repair anything. I'm not here to give you words of loving talk and comfort. My thing is, we cannot vote anymore. Every time, every 4 years, we get the same politician promising the same thing. Change, change, change. Make America great again. It's the same old rhetoric. So my solution is you don't need a government. You're God within. You have the power to live your life, and you have the power to bring to you the things that you need to sustain you in this life. So I say this to my Magi's, is that you have to become passionate about what I'm teaching. These teachings are revolutionary. When I first met my high priest, we call him the king, I read his book and was dying to meet the man. And when I first met him, I had to bow before him because I said, no human could have wrote this book. The wisdom that is in this book is so profound. I knew I had found my teacher. And when I became involved, it was work. We got deep into mystical breathing systems. We got deep into energy manipulation. We didn't sit there and talk each other through our problems. We knew that part of your makeup is an animal spirit, and the only way that animal spirit can be calm is through real, proper breathing techniques. Otherwise, you're going to have knee-jerk reactions. You're going to be emotional. You're going to be violent. You see, I don't care how many times you go to the voting booth. I don't care who is the new kid on the block as far as a politician. Bernie, whoever's out there, because I don't pay attention. They're not going to solve your problems because the system is broken. The system is corrupt. The system is ruled by an oligarchy behind the scenes. Do you understand that? I don't care if you got the Dalai Lama in the office as president. He's not going to be able to fix this. It has to come down. So I want you to understand that my channel should have more subscribers than it does now. But because a lot of people are well adjusted to a profoundly sick society, they follow the sick. It's the blind leading the blind. And what's that saying? It's by no measure a sign of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Let me read it correctly. Jita Maratha. I'm messing up that name, and I've said it a number of times, and when I don't say it for a while, I forget how to pronounce it. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I've always have said this, that we are living in a sick society, that we are very barbaric and primitive, but we refuse to admit that, refuse to acknowledge that. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. We are sick. You cannot ask individuals to stand up and initiate a revolution when the population is not well. Nothing of benefit will come from their labors. You must understand that. Women, African Americans, those who have been marginalized, are not in a position to wage war against this system. I've said that time and time again. They must first turn inward and start to heal themselves before they can embark on any type of revolution. And those who are students of history, who are in the revolutionary game, who point to these revolutionaries like Fidel Castro, don't understand that those revolutionaries were coming from a society that was not dysfunctional as this one. Let's put it this way. It was dysfunctional, but not to the degree that we're living in present day. In other words, when you have the masses of African Americans living below the poverty line, can't get jobs, can't get adequate health care, are being bombarded in the media by all kinds of anti-life messages that listen to music that promotes drug use, abuse of women, degradation. These people cannot get well because they're constantly under the attack by the dominant society. So there's no way that you can ask of them to rise up and defeat the ruling elite. You can't. The best they can hope for is to get themselves into a position of stability. You see, the ruling elite is doing an attack that is ongoing. The attack keeps coming so that you have no rest. You have nothing to put your foot upon to stand and take a breath. And they ensure that that's the way it is. They're masters in mind manipulation. They know what they're doing. So I give those individuals, those groups who are under attack some slack because I understand the tremendous pressure they're up against. And when you're under that type of pressure, you may be the most powerful magician, but you cannot use your power because of the simple fact that you have experienced trauma. You have gone through traumatic events, whether it be slavery, whether it be the Holocaust, whether it be abuse, childhood abuse. When you have those things, what we call as conditionings, because when those things keep bombarding you, keep coming at you, it produces what we call as a pattern or a conditioning. And then the outside world has these triggers that will activate those patterns and conditionings. And then you will respond accordingly. It's like Pavlov's dog. He would feed the dog, ring the bell. Then he stopped feeding the dog and he would just ring the bell, and he noticed the dog was salivating. The dog was responding as if there was meat, there. And we are in a matrix, and we're in a very controlled laboratory experiment. And they are experimenting on us. They're trying to see how they can push us, how they can manipulate us. Our goal is to resurrect Osir within us, the God within us. You see, you have meridians all through your body, and those meridians allow the energy to flow. And when they're blocked up, or when there's a bottleneck, the energy can't flow. So if the energy can't flow, you cannot manifest the reality that you want. So what I want to talk about here are measures to allow that energy to flow, to heal that trauma. Because when that trauma is healed, then you can produce wonders and magic in your life. The majority of people going through society do not experience miracles or do not experience magic. That is because the energy is blocked up, is dammed up purposely. The same way you have a third eye, but the third eye has been calcified by fluoride, you know? They're keeping you from being able to utilize your extrasensory perception. They are the same way they're keeping you from using the right brain by telling you meditation is evil. African religions are evil. Chinese religions are evil. Indian religions are evil. So that you will not start to, you won't explore that right brain. You see, Freud, when he wanted to really, Freud took his studies to the max. And when he reached a point where he could go no further, he started studying ancient Egypt. He started studying Kemet. And then he began to realize some profound things, that the Egyptians were masters of the mind. And they understood death. They understood the afterlife. They understood different dimensions. Because they were not afraid of the right brain. So the ruling elite creates a culture that keeps you away from exploring the subconscious realm, from exploring 5D. They keep you trapped in 3D. They create cultures around that. Music, which glorifies materialism, physicality, concrete thinking. We should have been a society that was producing geniuses by now. And the only way to do that is through integrated brain thinking. When the left and the right hemisphere of the brains come together, you produce geniuses. But we're kept from doing that because the universities are set up to only teach from a left brain perspective. Then you have these individuals who come along and say, I'm going to put together a school. I'm going to get donations to put together a school. Well, if you're going to put together a school based on left brain thinking, you're not doing us any favors. When the Russians started studying accelerated learning and super learning, they realized that the only way that they could perfect a system of super learning was to go into trance state, hypnosis. And when they did that, they started producing geniuses. Why can't we do that? Because we're taught not to believe in those things. Do you follow what I'm saying? One of the things I had to learn early on was that there was no way I was going to become a master magi. There was no way I was going to finish my priesthood studies until I dealt with my own trauma in my past. You see, it took me a long time to realize that I was manifesting things in my life based on memories. You see, over being physically and verbally abused by my father. I was upset at being verbally and physically abused by my mother. Though I still loved them, I would often replay the abuse in my mind, trying to rationalize and understand why did I have to go through that abuse? Why me? Why me? Never realizing that, I didn't think these memories were anything. I was like, okay, they're just bad memories. I'll deal with them. I won't think too much about them. But never realizing that those memories would continually manifest in my world. And I saw patterns happen. I would meet guys or friends, and they would be very toxic. I would meet women, and they would be very toxic. And it would be over and over again. It would be cyclical. And I was wondering why I was in this kind of trapped into this kind of cycle. And when I really began to understand like NLP and other techniques, I started and put that together with my occult learnings. I realized, oh, so not only am I manifesting my reality, because a lot of these people who teach about the law of attraction, The Secret, and manifesting reality, they don't know anything. They just regurgitate information. If they knew anything, they would tell you that your memories manifest all the time. Not just what you want in life. I want a beautiful wife. I want $1 million. I want a Lamborghini. And if you hold on to those thoughts, eventually it will manifest. No, that's not true. See, you have the meridians and the energy blockages. What's causing the energy blockages? The past trauma, the past memories that you don't think are important, but you keep manifesting those things. This is why women date the same guys over and over again and then complain that all men aren't shit. When I began to look at how my father treated me and how I would role play that over and over again, I would see how it would manifest again and again and again with the same friends I would meet. But it was tricky, because let me explain to you something of how the right brain works. It's not Cartesian logic. It's not a left brain logical thing. What do I mean by that? What I'm trying to say to you is this. The left brain is very linear. It compares apples to apples, oranges to oranges. The right brain is nonlinear and it's abstract. So let's take, for example, you may have had a sister or brother who was very abusive to you. Now, you're not going to manifest that sister or brother again, but what the right brain will do in an abstract way is extrapolate the character traits from those interactions and superimpose that onto someone else and manifest them into your life. And that's the reason why you can't see this karma. This is the reason why you can't see these patterns over and over again, because it's an abstract thing. It's almost looking at apples and oranges, comparing the two. You think they're different, but it's really, at its core essence, the same thing. You could have had a very bad experience with a woman in your life, but the right brain will manifest that with a man, a male, and you won't see the connection to the female that you had the bad experience with in years ago. It's extrapolating the qualities. It's extrapolating the situations and circumstances, not in a very direct way, but a very indirect, abstract way. If the left brain were doing it, it would do it in a very concrete way, where it would be the same type of person, the same hair color, same skin color. But the right brain doesn't work that way. It works through symbols, abstract concepts. So it reproduces those interactions that you had in your past that were very emotional or very traumatic, and it manifests those in your present day. So you never see the connection, but the connection is there. And it took me a while to see it. And then when I began to see it, I said, well, I've got to deal with these memories. I got to deal with this past. And then some of the New Age books will tell you the way to deal with that is to forgive, to forgive. Yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, it's great to forgive, but not everybody is at that place emotionally. So forgiveness is good, which you should really do for yourself. But to really purge yourself of those experiences and to be free of them, to allow the energy to flow so you can manifest anything you want in your life and use your power, you have to take a different approach. You have to go deeper. So let's take a look at this, my beloved. First and foremost, we must identify the issue that we're dealing with. Some women are argumentative. Some women are afraid to open up and be loved. Some women act too masculine, and that's based on how they were raised. Some men act too feminine. Some men are too emotional. Some men are too violent. So the first thing you should try and do is make a list of past emotional trauma or issues. I mean, really get down there and just like start just like writing everything down. And you do this when you start to recall it. You'll know, because you often play out these scenarios in your mind. You know, my mother would do this. My father would do this. My father never paid the light bill. We never had food on the table. So you just write these issues down. And next, observe your reality to see how it manifests. Look at how these things will manifest in your present world, because they are manifesting. You are a reality generating machine. And whether you like it or not, you are manifesting things every microsecond. Now, the next thing is when you are able to make that connection and you can see how your past traumatic experiences are now manifesting in the present world, the trick to this now is this. Observe it. Do not emotionally react to it. Be the all-seeing eye. Be the eye of Haru. Because when you react to it, you feed it energy. You feed it energy. You make it stronger. And therefore, it'll never go away. You see, when you understand that you, at your core, you are consciousness. You're not human. You're not the physical body. You're not black. You're not white. You're not transgender. You're not Asian. You're not Latino. You're not a beautiful, sexy Latina. Call me. But you are consciousness. And the way that our ancestors, the ancient Kemetic people, represented consciousness is through the eye of Haru, the all-seeing eye. This is how you must go about your life, observing those things, but not emotionally reacting to them. The more you emotionally react to them, the more you're telling the matrix to keep those things happening, to trap you in that karma, to trap you in that cycle. Okay? What is the solution now? Okay, we have made a list of our past traumas. We have observed our reality and we see how it manifests. And we're not reacting to it. We're just observing it. How do we get rid of it now so that we don't keep going through this karma? Let's look at the solution. I'm so cute. Solution, get it? You do this by 3 ways. First way, which is a very powerful way, is you can mentally rewrite your past trauma or issue to unfold in a positive way. Replay the trauma that you went through in the past, but now see it as unfolding in a very positive way. Now, you will have to do this many, many, many times for it to take into the subconscious mind. And this is like counteracting the negative experience. Let's say, for example, I got into a physical altercation 5 years ago and I'm very upset about that and it still affects me. Well, I'll have to go back and visualize that physical altercation and maybe see myself kicking kicking that guy's butt, winning the fight, coming out on top, and having a bunch of women wanting to sleep with me. There you go. It's very powerful. And I'm not kidding, because that's when you look at it that way, that it's such an absurd thing as what I just said. Well, not absurd. That happens to me all the time. The girls, especially Latinas. But anyway, I digress. When you look at it that way and you make it so out of the norm, it makes more of an impression on the right brain. And then eventually, when that comes up, that memory comes up, you only remember it in a positive way. For example, you remember your mother actually yelling at you as a kid, right? And that caused a lot of problems where you feel like you've never been heard, allowed to speak up, right? What you can do is you can replay it and see your mother yelling at you, but instead of your mother looking like she is, you can picture her with a rabbit head. Maybe she's Bugs Bunny when she yells at you. And seeing it that way will make you laugh and relieve the tension. Or when somebody, for example, like your father was yelling at you, so you can replay it and say, every time he yells at you, you can replay it and rewrite it that he farts. So every time you visualize him yelling at you, he's farting, and it makes you laugh, and it relieves your tension. And then eventually, when you think about him yelling at you, the emotion will not be behind that. It will have no power on you anymore, and thus it won't manifest in your life anymore. It'll dissolve. It'll go away, and the energy will be allowed to flow. You see what I'm saying? Let's continue. The next thing is you can visualize a past experience as positive. This is what we just talked about, which is just visualization, using visualization. We talked about that. The next and most effective way is to use hypnosis or meditation to visualize a positive outcome. So instead of just visualizing it, work with a hypnotherapist, take you into trance state and let the hypnotherapist guide you through the process of seeing it come out in a positive way. Or you can do it yourself by sitting there every night and meditating and see the situation unfold in a positive way. Because meditation is the access to the right brain, the subconscious mind, which is what controls your behavior. Does that make sense? All righty. There are two things that control your behavior or that influence your behavior. We call your behavior a pattern or a conditioning. And it really only comes about through repeated exposure of the same emotion. It creates the pattern. Now, there's two ways this is created. One is through social conditioning, meaning the interaction with your mother, interactions with people, family, and friends. But other ways that are more difficult to eradicate and get rid of are through being created by the oversoul or a pendulum. See, we talked about the idea of state. State is transferable. We all we're all receivers. We're picking up energy vibrations or thought vibrations from different people. Those are coming to us from pendulums, ergomores, or oversouls. We're constantly uploading information and constantly downloading information. Thoughts are transferable. You're not responsible for those thoughts. A thought can come into your head and you thinking about sleeping with a 12-year-old, and you're like, where did that thought come from? Well, that was somebody who was thinking about that, and you as a receiver picked up on that. Well, you're responsible for that thought. If you take it and dwell on it and play that visualization out in your mind, you are then responsible for it. Other than that, you should just allow that thought to enter and go. Don't hold on to it. Now, let's try to understand this metaphysical principle of how oversouls work, because they have an influence. See, an oversoul works this way. You ever see how people start to act alike, and it comes to fruition as what we call as a culture? They take on the same mannerisms, they take on, and part of that is that our society doesn't like us to be individualistic, to be individuals. So in order to protect us, because we're too afraid to express our individuality, in order to protect us, we have a groupthink mentality. Every young black man wants to be a rapper, and they act thuggish, and they think it's cool, but it protects them because they dare not really talk about the fact that they want to read a book or get educated. It's too frightening. They'll be due to social pressure, they'll be made fun of. Does that make sense? You follow me? So let's get an understanding of what creates these thought patterns, these traumas originating from the oversoul, because that's where they're coming from. Oversoul is an invisible entity that can control your behavior, can dictate behavior patterns that you may have. Of course, modern psychology doesn't want to deal with that or even talk about that, because they don't want to deal with the metaphysical aspects of life. You know what I'm saying? So let us understand what an oversoul is.
Okay. Let's look at how that might look like on a diagram. Here you have all that is. Yeah. Within the all that is, we have consciousnesses or levels of consciousnesses. let's call those levels oversouls. Okay, and within those oversouls, each oversoul has many other oversouls within it. Okay, each oversoul has many oversouls, just like the same way all that is has many oversouls under it. And then each one of those oversouls within the oversouls has who knows how many layers of consciousness that goes down. It could be an infinite layer all the way up to the all that is. But we don't care about that right now because it doesn't affect directly our physical reality. But at some point, there's an oversoul that really directly affects your physical reality. In other words, that's the oversoul under which your individual soul lies. But that oversoul has many other souls within it. You're not the only soul under that oversoul. This, for example, can explain the concept of multiple lifetimes or parallel lives, parallel realities, or even past, present, future, and all that. So as you can see, all those are contained within one oversoul. That's what I mean by a soul, many souls being within one. So if at all you have any inclination to think of parallel realities or multiple lives, or maybe in another life or in the future or in the present or whatever, all those are contained within that one higher consciousness about that. So now let's look at the 9 levels of consciousness that are relevant to our physical reality. So we forget about the infinite ones that are really high, so high up there we can't even comprehend them. Okay.
So I don't want to get into the actual 9 levels of consciousness. We can do that in a future video because that's a very deep subject we're getting into. But the main thing is what I want you to understand is that your actions, your emotions, and your reality are not all dictated by you. You are downloading impressions and information from the oversoul. And because those are emotionally strong and you become tied to it, you manifest that in this 4th dimensional plane. The trick is to break away from that groupthink mentality so that you don't want to aspire to be the next rapper. You know what I mean? That you, in order to access higher knowledge, higher wisdom, higher consciousness, you cannot be tied down to your own personal emotional hangups or traumas, and also from the collective. And this is why you have the collective group of African Americans who are very traumatized and very connected to one another, to where they cannot see the solution to the problem because you're too close to it. This is why you cannot expect people who are under attack or who are suffering from a mental illness and who are dysfunctional to suddenly rise up and form a revolution. It can't happen. And when you see this dysfunction that's going on, it's totally logical. You can see it and say, I understand why certain people act the way they do. And when I counsel people, I often tell them, I say, your actions, you're under the control of a pendulum or ergomore. They have no clue to what I'm saying sometimes. They don't understand it. But it's okay, because I try to prescribe something, whether it be a mantra to purge themselves from that ergomore or pendulum or a breathing technique, so they can break away from that primitive, destructive behavior. You don't have to understand, the details of how everything works behind the scenes. But as long as you do the work to kind of extricate yourself from the problem. And as I said at the start of this video, it's going to take real work. You're not going to get on the phone and do a half-hour consultation with someone and find that all life is good now. First step is, and I know it's difficult, we all have to recognize the fact that we all are not well, okay? We are not well at all. And that we need to start working on ourselves. All right. And the way to do that is to take an audit, to take stock of who we are, the things we do, and then to apply the techniques I've kind of outlined here so that we can become balanced, we can become well adjusted, we can start treating each other better. And this is an ongoing process. I get emails sometimes with people who are like, well, how long does it take you to get to this level or to be, a master magi where you don't have any more problems in your life and everything is good and you have a harem of women and you rotate with them every night? I'm like, you never get to that point. It's a journey to where you work on one thing and then you move to the next thing and you move to the next thing. But as the goddess Heteru tells us, we enjoy the journey. And that you express joy at every step of the way. So I just want to put this in perspective and give you a big picture understanding of like what you need to do to get yourself back into balance. That it's not going to come from a motivational seminar. It's not going to come from just reading one book and aha, I'm okay, everything's better, the world is great. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did. I wish there was a pill that you can take and everything gets into perspective and all the problems are solved. But what I need you to understand is that we have to watch what we do and what we say in terms of why can't we all unite? Why can't we get together? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Well, that's like going to an insane asylum and asking the inmates there, why can't you walk in a straight line? Why can't you stop seeing imaginary things? They're sick and they're going to do things and exhibit behaviors that sick people would do. So you cannot say to people who have been under oppression, disenfranchised, marginalized, why can't you guys just solve this problem? And this is why I went on this journey. You see, I got into priesthood because I wanted to help people. And I knew that traditional Western approach was not going to work, and it hasn't worked. But it's been put there for a reason, to mislead you and to misguide you so that they can take the planet in a direction of destruction. This is what they want. Dysfunctionalism, destruction, infighting, war, terrorism. This is what they want. They need you to be dysfunctional. They don't want you to be God man and God woman. That means you don't need them. That means to hell with the government. I don't need you. I can manifest whatever I want. That scares the hell out of them. And I want you to understand this. You need to stop engaging these folks on their channels where all they talk about is different conspiracy theories. It's very disturbing to me to see people just following these people and all they talk about is conspiracy theory. And I'm like, well, when are you going to get to talking about spirituality? When are you going to get to talking about how to solve people's problems in their lives? Because people are getting their asses kicked by life. And these folks don't have an answer because they don't know how to solve your problems. But they can talk about conspiracy theory. They can read about the latest theory and then talk about it to you and scare you to death. And because it's a very strong emotion, then what's going to happen? You're going to manifest that in your life. This is why I tell folks, be very careful about what you're focusing on, because what you focus on expands and it becomes your reality. If you want to talk all day about the Illuminati, about shape-shifting reptilians and aliens, you're going to shift to a parallel world where those things exist. You don't want to do that. So what I'm telling you is to withdraw your consciousness within, work on what's going on inside of you so that you can resolve those past issues, allow the energy to flow so you could become a master magi and work wonders in your life. We're living in a world all about fear-based programming, and these internet people know how to sell. They know how to get you to donate to the channels, to get you to subscribe to the channels, because if they know that they can sell you on fear, and they keep promoting fear, that you'll buy into that. David, I don't know if you guys are familiar with David Icke, but I knew David Icke from way back. I talked to him. I remember when he couldn't get people to come to his seminar, he was asking us to work with him and help him to get people to come. And I don't really have a lot of problems with what he's saying. But the problem I do have is like, are you going to get to a point where you start talking about a solution? And I'm not talking about a solution that is about political parties. I'm talking about a solution, how we work out the problems within ourselves. You see, they're so quick to focus on the external evil. But remember the Assyrian drama, the story of Asar and Set is, what did Heru fight? Heru fought Seth. What is Seth? An allegory or analogous to the animal within us. Set is really us. We're battling our lower emotions, our lower primitive aspects. That's who we're battling. We're not battling an external force or external enemy. We're not doing that. Because most of you will never come into contact with the ruling elite. You understand what I'm saying? You're your best friend and your greatest enemy. If you learn to resolve your past memories, your past trauma, you will be able to work wonders in your life. And you don't realize to the degree that those things are messing your life up now because they're manifesting, but you can't see the connection. Fix those things, and I guarantee you, you're going to feel a totally different way. The initiates or the people who have taken the medicine or have gone on the spiritual journey to South America to take ayahuasca and DMT, once they come out of that, what do they talk about? That they are a new person, that they're not the same person. That is because those medicines has helped resolve the trauma that was trapped in their subconscious mind. You don't know how burdened down you are by those memories. Especially women, because you're very right-brained, and that's the seat of the emotion. And they really know that, so they kind of manipulate you. They target you. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And I hope this message and this technique will be a benefit to you. And if you want to join us for our group hypnosis sessions, become a supporter on Patreon. We have a hypnosis session coming up. So you'll get a notification on that. It's going to be great. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be awesome because I'm going to be there. This is Kasank Ma'a Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.